When people hear the word development, they imagine progress, recognition, and respect. Yet the path to true growth is rarely decorated with applause. Instead, it is paved with criticism, misunderstanding, and even humiliation. The truth is, development requires dishonor, not because dishonor is the goal, but because it is the unavoidable shadow of rising above mediocrity. Every step forward, every act of breaking boundaries, every refusal to conform will challenge the comfort of others, and when you disturb comfort, you will be dishonored. The question is not, can you grow without dishonor? The real question is, can you embrace dishonor without losing yourself? When we speak of transformation, most people think of it as something admirable, something that will earn applause, recognition, or respect. Yet the very first truth of transformation is that it will be misunderstood. Every time a person decides to break away from the ordinary, they disrupt the balance that others are comfortable with. Imagine a seed buried in the soil. If it remains in the soil forever undisturbed, it is safe, hidden, and untouched. But the moment it begins to push against the dirt, the moment it dares to break the surface, the struggle begins. The earth resists its movement, the winds bend it, and people walking by may step on it before it even has the chance to grow. This is the reality of transformation. When you rise, resistance comes. And that resistance often takes the form of dishonor, mockery, doubt, criticism, and rejection. Dishonor is the world's way of protecting its comfort. When you change, you reflect back to others what they are not willing to change within themselves. Your courage highlights their fear. Your determination exposes their laziness. And so, instead of embracing your growth, they dishonor it. This is why the man who decides to wake up at dawn to train his body is mocked as too obsessive. The woman who rejects a conventional path to pursue her passion is told she is unrealistic. The child who dares to dream beyond his family's limitations is accused of being disrespectful. These words are not the truth of your path. They are the discomfort of others being projected onto you. The dishonor is not truly about you. It is about the challenge your transformation brings to those who remain still. And if you cannot face this dishonor, if you allow it to break you, your transformation will die before it begins. Dishonor is therefore not an obstacle. It is a test. It asks, do you really want this growth? Many people say they want change, but they want it with comfort. They want applause for every step, encouragement at every moment, and validation for every effort. But true development never works that way. The very beginning of transformation strips away comfort and leaves you alone in silence, doubted by others. It is in this dishonor that you learn whether your motivation is shallow or deep. If your growth is dependent on recognition, you will fall. But if your growth is rooted in something greater, discipline, inner purpose, or a vision no one else yet sees, then dishonor becomes powerless. It still hurts, but it cannot stop you. In fact, it sharpens you. Each insult, each rejection, each humiliation becomes like a weight that strengthens the muscle of your resilience. When you finally accept dishonor as the price of transformation, you begin to walk with a new kind of freedom. You no longer ask, why are they criticizing me? Why do they not support me? Instead, you understand, dishonor is a natural signpost of growth. Just as the seed must break through the soil, just as the warrior must endure wounds in training, just as the mountain climber must suffer cold and exhaustion, so too must you face dishonor if you wish to rise. It is not a punishment, it is not a curse, it is the toll required to pass from one level of life to the next. And if you endure it with patience, if you carry it without bitterness, you will find that dishonor has not weakened you at all. It has simply burned away the illusions, leaving only the truth of your transformation standing strong. Human beings have always admired what feels safe, what looks familiar, and what does not disturb the existing order. Comfort becomes like a soft blanket. It is warm, it is predictable, and it carries no risk of loss. Because of this, Society naturally rewards comfort. The person who does not question, who follows the rules, who blends into the expectations of others, is often celebrated as good and respectable. Yet what we call respect in such cases is not always genuine admiration, it is merely agreement with the majority. Comfort earns respect because it does not challenge anyone. It does not make others feel insecure about their own choices. It allows everyone to stay in the same rhythm, unthreatened. But development, real development, never comes from comfort. It comes from stepping outside the blanket, into the cold, into the uncertain. And here is the paradox. While society respects comfort, it ridicules courage. The very act of leaving the circle makes you a target for mockery. When you choose courage, you are choosing to walk against the current. People who are carried by the river of comfort will look at you struggling upstream and laugh. Why don't you just relax? Why are you exhausting yourself? Who do you think you are to try something different? This ridicule is not rooted in truth. It is rooted in fear. Your courage threatens their passivity. It reminds them that they too once had dreams they abandoned, goals they ignored, and potential they buried under comfort. And so instead of facing this uncomfortable reflection, they ridicule you. The ridicule is their defense mechanism. They do not want to confront their own lack of courage, so they disguise it by shaming yours. And if you are not prepared for this ridicule, you may begin to believe it. You may begin to think, maybe I really am foolish. Maybe my courage is nothing but a mistake. But understand, this ridicule is not proof that your courage is wrong. It is proof that your courage is real enough to disturb others. Consider this: history has never remembered those who only lived within the boundaries of comfort. The innovators, the leaders, the seekers of truth, every one of them endured ridicule. The artist who painted differently was mocked until his work became priceless. The scientist who questioned tradition was ridiculed until his discoveries changed the world. The warrior who fought against stronger forces was laughed at until his victory rewrote the map of nations. Courage in its first form is always ridiculed because it does not fit into the comfortable patterns people already know. And yet it is precisely because of this ridicule that courage becomes pure. When you keep moving forward despite laughter, despite doubt, despite the sting of being seen as strange or wrong, you are proving to yourself that your courage is not for applause. It is not for validation. It is for the truth of your path. Ridicule then becomes a fire. It burns the weakness of your ego and tempers the strength of your spirit. So ask yourself, are you seeking respect or are you seeking growth? Because often you cannot have both at the same time. Respect is given to those who maintain the familiar, who never disturb the patterns of others. Growth, however, requires you to walk through the storm of ridicule. When you realize this, you stop begging for respect and start cultivating courage. You accept that people may laugh, they may mock, they may call you reckless, arrogant, or naive. But beneath every word of ridicule lies a hidden truth. They see in you something they cannot yet see in themselves. They are not laughing at your weakness. They are laughing to protect themselves from their own unchosen strength. And when you recognize this, ridicule no longer feels like poison. It becomes a mirror showing you that you are moving in the right direction, that you are leaving the comfort zone that so many are too afraid to leave. The ego is a subtle and powerful force. It thrives on recognition, on praise, on being seen and validated by others. When people honor you, when they speak well of you, when they give you respect, the ego grows strong and proud. At first, this may feel pleasant. Who does not enjoy being admired? But in truth, this admiration can be dangerous. It blinds you to your weaknesses. It makes you dependent on the opinions of others, and it ties your sense of worth to external validation. Growth that is fueled only by honor is fragile, because the moment respect is taken away, your strength collapses. This is why dishonor is necessary. It cuts into the roots of the ego, showing you whether your growth is real or simply built on the shifting sands of reputation. Dishonor becomes a purification, a cleansing fire that burns away the illusions of pride. When you are dishonored, something within you is forced to confront itself. The mask of ego is stripped off. No longer can you pretend that you are growing only for yourself, because dishonor reveals the truth. Perhaps you were chasing applause. Perhaps you were addicted to recognition. Dishonor hurts precisely because it denies the ego the food it craves. It denies you the comfort of being praised, and in that denial it exposes your dependency. This is the painful but necessary medicine to walk your path while being ignored, laughed at, or even insulted, and yet to continue walking. In such moments you begin to see that your journey is not about proving yourself to others. It is about proving yourself to yourself. Without dishonor you may never discover this clarity. You may continue to chase shadows of approval without realizing that they have nothing to do with true development. Dishonor purifies the ego by teaching humility. It humbles you in ways that respect never can. Respect often inflates the self. It makes you feel important, as if you have already achieved something permanent. Dishonor, on the other hand, teaches you that you are not beyond criticism, not beyond failure, not beyond rejection. It brings you back to the ground. It reminds you that growth is not about being admired, it is about being willing to be misunderstood while still remaining faithful to your path. Humility born from dishonor is different from weakness. It does not mean lowering yourself or doubting your worth. It means standing firm, even when others cannot see your value. It means trusting your inner compass even when the crowd turns its back. Such humility becomes a shield, protecting you from the arrogance that often destroys those who rise too quickly. And finally, dishonor allows you to taste freedom from the ego. Once you have endured being mocked, rejected, or even abandoned, and yet discovered that your spirit still stands, you realize that you no longer need constant validation. You are free from the prison of needing to be honored at every step. You no longer ask, do they see me? Do they respect me? Do they believe in me? Instead you ask, am I walking in alignment with my truth? This shift is the deepest purification. For the first time, your actions are not bound by fear of losing face, nor driven by the hunger of being admired. You begin to act from clarity, from discipline, from inner necessity, and this purity of motivation, born through dishonor, becomes the strongest foundation for growth. Because when your ego has been cleansed, dishonor can no longer destroy you, it can only strengthen you. It is easy to be surrounded by people when life feels smooth, when respect is abundant, and when the world applauds you. Honor attracts company because it is pleasant to stand beside someone who is celebrated. But the company that honor brings is not always genuine. Some walk with you because they desire to share in your shine, not because they truly believe in your journey. They enjoy the reflection of your light, but are unwilling to endure the darkness that comes with struggle. This is why dishonor becomes an essential teacher. It strips away the false supporters, the shallow admirers, and the companions of convenience. When dishonor arrives, when criticism and rejection surround you, many of those who once smiled at you will quietly step away. It is in this silence that the truth of your relationships is revealed. Dishonor acts as a test of loyalty. Anyone can walk beside you when the road is lined with flowers, but very few will remain when the path turns into thorns. When you are mocked, ridiculed, or doubted, you will quickly discover who possesses the strength to stand with you in that storm. These are your true allies, the ones who see your essence even when others deny it, the ones who remind you of your worth when the world calls you worthless. They do not need the validation of society to believe in you. Their loyalty is not built on your honor but on their recognition of your spirit. This test cannot be avoided, for without dishonor you would never know the difference between those who are with you for your image and those who are with you for your truth. Dishonor may sting, but it clears the fog of illusion in relationships. Consider how much energy is wasted on maintaining connections that are built on appearances. Without realizing it, many people carry the weight of pleasing those who would abandon them at the first sign of dishonor. They try to keep everyone close, to maintain their approval, to secure their company. Yet dishonor makes it impossible to hide behind appearances. When you are dishonored, people are forced to reveal their true hearts. Some will distance themselves to protect their own reputation. Others will criticize you more loudly, fearing that association with you may also bring dishonor upon them. But a few, sometimes only one or two, will remain, and their presence will mean more than the praise of 1,000 shallow companions. In dishonor you do not lose friends, you lose illusions of friendship. The circle becomes smaller, but it becomes real. And there is another lesson hidden within this. Dishonor not only reveals who your allies are, it also teaches you how to become a true ally to others. Having tasted abandonment, you learn the value of standing with someone in their lowest moment. Having seen how many disappear when dishonor strikes, you learn to remain when others are left alone. In this way, dishonor transforms your relationships into bonds of depth and sincerity. You no longer chase numbers, you no longer seek to be surrounded by many voices. You learn to treasure the few who are genuine, and you learn to offer that same loyalty in return. Thus dishonor, which at first seems like a curse, becomes the foundation of authentic connection. It cleanses not only your ego but also your relationships, leaving you with a circle of allies forged not in comfort but in truth. To live in fear of dishonor is to live in chains. It is to allow the opinions of others to decide your movements, your choices, and even the very shape of your life. This is the prison in which most people remain. They do not ask themselves, what do I truly want? What is my authentic path? Instead they ask, what will people say? How will I be judged? Will I be respected? As long as these questions rule the mind, one can never be free. True freedom does not come from being honored. It comes from walking unshaken through dishonor. Once you accept that dishonor is inevitable on the path of growth, you stop living in fear of it. You no longer shape your life to protect your image. You shape it according to truth. The paradox is this: the very thing most people run from, the sting of dishonor, is the key that unlocks the door to freedom. Dishonor strips you of dependence. When you have endured being laughed at, rejected, or misunderstood, and yet you keep walking, you realize something profound: you no longer need approval to survive. This realization is freedom. Approval may come, respect may come, honor may come, but if they do not, you still move forward. You still breathe. You still rise. Dishonor breaks the illusion that your worth depends on how others see you. It teaches you that your worth is not fragile, not conditional, not hanging by the thread of society's opinions. In this freedom, you discover a new energy within yourself. Every step you take is lighter, because you are no longer carrying the burden of performing for the world. You are not acting to impress. You are acting to express what is true within you. Dishonor takes away the mask, and in doing so it reveals the face of freedom. When you are no longer controlled by the fear of dishonor, you begin to live with a rare kind of courage. Most people hold themselves back, not because they lack ability, but because they fear humiliation. They fear trying and failing in front of others. They fear being called naive, reckless, or foolish. They fear being different. But once you have passed through dishonor and survived it, these fears lose their power. You realize that ridicule does not kill you, rejection does not destroy you, and being misunderstood does not end your path. The courage born from this realization is unstoppable. You no longer calculate your every step according to how it will be judged. You take risks, you create, you act in alignment with your inner necessity. This courage is not reckless, it is freedom from fear, and only from such freedom can true development unfold. Beyond dishonor lies a state of peace. It is not the peace of being admired or universally accepted. That peace is fragile, because it depends on circumstances you cannot control. The peace that dishonor gives is deeper. It is the peace of knowing that no matter what the world says, you are free to walk your path. You are free to stumble, to rise again, to succeed or to fail, without being enslaved by the voices around you. This peace is unshakable, because it is rooted not in the changing winds of opinion, but in the stillness of your own heart. When you have reached this point, dishonor no longer feels like an enemy. It becomes a teacher you respect, for it has led you here to freedom. And once you taste this freedom, you will never again exchange it for the fragile comfort of living only to be honored. So when we look at the path of development, we must understand it is not a road lined with applause. It is not a journey lit by constant recognition. It is a path where dishonor walks beside you. People may mock you. They may misunderstand you. They may even abandon you. But these are not signs that you are failing. They are signs that you are growing. Dishonor will test your patience. It will humble your ego. It will refine your relationships. And ultimately, it will set you free. The fear of dishonor is the chain that keeps most people bound. But once you accept it, once you carry it without bitterness, once you walk forward despite it, you will realize that dishonor was never your enemy. It was your silent teacher, shaping you into someone who no longer lives for the approval of others, but for the truth of your own path. Development is not possible without dishonor, because dishonor is the fire that burns away weakness and reveals strength. If you truly seek growth, then welcome dishonor as part of the journey. Do not run from it. Do not curse it. Learn from it. Walk through it. And when you do, you will find something that no honor, no applause, no recognition can ever give you: the freedom to live as yourself, unshaken, unafraid, and unstoppable.